Integrative Inquiry, Week 10 Practice, Introduction to a Trauma-Informed Workplace. The invitation here is to begin to arrive. And in this arriving practice, we're noticing the body, just the body in this space and time. So perhaps bringing a gentle invitation to noticing the sensation of the feet on the floor. Maybe even taking a moment and pressing the feet into the floor, perhaps first one foot and then the other. Bringing a gentle attention to the sensation of the seat in the chair. And inviting in attention to rest on the back. Inviting the spine to lift into an alert, upright, yet relaxed position. Noticing where the hands are placed. And then inviting the eyes to soften. It's as if you're looking down, but not really seeing. And as you notice the body in this space and time, invite in a gentle scanning of the body from toe to the top of the head. Taking your time to scan the body, noticing sensations or lack of sensations. And as you notice sensations in the body, you may notice a naming of what you're noticing. See if you can name what you notice with one word. And when you notice you're going into the story of why that sensation may be there or whether it should be there, see if you can suspend that in that hot air balloon. And rather invite in not an avoiding of what you're noticing, but a grounding of what you're noticing in the breath sensation in the body. So you continue to scan the body, noticing sensation or lack of sensation. See if you can regulate the volume in which you're noticing what you're noticing by noting what you're noticing, naming what you're noticing, maybe even describing softly, quietly the volume or intensity of what you're noticing in the body, and then shifting as you notice to the breath sensation in the body, even bringing a hand to the belly or to the chest. So it's as if you're using the breath to ground awareness. And avoiding using the breath to sweep away what's being noticed. It's a gentle grounding. Back to right here, right now. gift of the breath in the body. And then whatever's calling front stage, center stage, we'll just slide back into awareness. Maybe a bodily sensation, maybe an emotion, a feeling, or a thought, memory from past or future anticipation. And as you ground this sense of self, the feet on the floor, the seat in the chair, the awareness resting on the breath in the body, the emotions, the feelings, the thoughts, the bodily sensations will come and go. And if one again moves to center stage and is calling for your attention, see if you can greet it gently, kindly. And if it becomes too loud, too encompassing, then know you have the ability, if you desire, if it's available to you, to press the feet back into the ground, seat into the chair. Bring the hand back to the belly if it's not already there. Check in with the breath sensation to see if you're still breathing. And some of you might be noticing a restful awareness with the breath sensation. And others of you might notice that there are several players on the stage calling for your attention. They may be named bodily sensations, emotions, feelings. They may be named past memories or future worries or concerns, or even planning. As you notice this gentle shifting, just ever so gentle shifting of your attention back to what's pulling you away from the breath sensation in the body, back to the breath sensation in the body. Notice the process of this ebb and flow. And if what's calling you away turns up the volume so much, so the invitation then is to, if you'd like to, open your eyes if they're closed, or if you're looking down, look up and allow your eyes to anchor on a pleasant object. Perhaps there's one readily available that you can allow your gaze to rest upon. And noticing that object. And with your gaze softly resting on that object which is pleasant to the sight sensation, see if you can locate the breath sensation in the body. And if it was taking center stage, is still screaming, invite yourself into some gentle movement. So before moving into some gentle movement, just again noticing, naming what's calling your attention, offering kindness to yourself for experiencing whatever you're experiencing. It just is. And then on your next inhale, gently raise your right arm to whatever height is comfortable if you're able. Then the exhale, lowering your right arm. Next inhale, raising your left arm. Exhale, lowering your left arm. Next inhale, raising both arms above your head to whatever height is comfortable, or not above your head if that's not comfortable. Exhaling, lowering the arms. And giving yourself permission to move with the breath, raising and lowering of arms. With the flow of the inhale and exhale. With the raising and lowering of the legs, one at a time, even if you're sitting. Noticing the gentle movement with the inhale and the exhale. And then perhaps giving yourself permission to see what's on center stage now. What's calling your attention? Has the intensity shifted? Have the textures, qualities of the experience changed? And then whenever you're ready, gently inviting your attention to rest on the breath sensation in the belly. And then taking a moment to invite attention back to the webinar and to the screen. And taking a moment to journal whatever you noticed or how that experience was for you. Or feel free to use the chat window to share whatever you noticed or any questions or comments that you might have. And as you share, I'll just share this with you. So that's one example of inviting in and arriving into a situation where we don't know what our students or what our colleagues have experienced just before we're inviting them into the space. Maybe a meeting that we're inviting them into, maybe an in-class or out-of-class experience. Or it may be that we're aware something happened on our campuses or in our community, and we're not sure how it has affected the people that we're in service to, our students, our colleagues. And so this is a way where we're really giving permission to use the body and the breath as an anchor for awareness, while also giving space for whatever is calling our attention. And beginning the practice of regulating, as Kristen Neff would talk about of opening the faucet of awareness and saying, I can look fully into this. And then also closing the faucet of awareness of, what I'm looking into is getting so intense. I'm not using the breath sensation to sweep it away. I'm using it to ground my awareness that something else is here. Something else is here. The body's in the chair, the breath sensation is in the body, or I might be looking up and seeing a particular color that is pleasing to the sight sensation, or hearing a sound that's pleasing to the sound sensation. Something else, so that we begin to notice what all is here in the midst of the intensity of that which is drawing our attention, that which is taking center stage in awareness. And this can be really useful to some of our students who might be experiencing a lot of triggers to their trauma as they transition into our classroom, or our classroom, unbeknownst to us, has something that's triggering them. Okay. So thoughts, ideas, questions, just one variation. There are several variations of that kind of giving permission to notice the intensity of something, but also giving permission to look away, to again turn on, fully being with what is, and also closing the faucet, pulling back from the intensity of what is. Okay. And self-compassion practices can also be very useful for closing that faucet of really being with what is. Okay, thoughts, ideas. Feel free to use the chat window. Again, I'm just so happy that you're here. Otherwise, in this, I'll just keep moving forward with some other practices. How many of you, by show of hands, let me move this window so I can see them. How many of you have seen some videos that have been circulated around classroom teachers utilizing different ways where students can select which way they want to be greeted as they walk into their classrooms? This is a practice that we see a lot in PK through 6 or 7 or 8. Yes. Yeah, there's some cool videos. Thank you, Becca. There's some cool videos out there. And I had seen one that really influenced me. And then I was chatting with some of the researchers who do the trauma-informed work. And they were telling me, yes, that is actually a trauma-informed practice that actually at any time we should be inviting in the question, how would you like to be greeted? So it's not just coming into our in-class spaces or our out-of-class space meetings or the one-on-ones that we might always invite in, how would you like to be greeted? And so as a reminder to me, and as an invitation to the students I serve and the colleagues I serve, I have this posted out outside of on my office door. So it helps me remember that there are lots of ways that people might be coming into, again, the space where touching is just not welcomed. Sometimes a hug really is welcomed, and sometimes it's not welcomed. So so just the question of how would you like to, how may I greet you is my shortcut version. How would you like, I started with how would you like to be greeted, and some people are like what, and so I'm like, how may I greet you? How would you prefer I greet you? How would you prefer I greet you? Then they can and sometimes they'll be startled and like, what? And so if they're not outside my door, if they are outside my office door, I can point to the sign, or if they are coming into the classroom, I can point to the sign. But if I'm just coming across a student, this is, I might offer, like, would you like a handshake? Would you like a hug? Would you like a high five? Would you like a fist bump? Would you like a bow? What would you like? Or would you like me to just see you and for you to know that you're seen? And this is another way of respecting cultural differences, and for me to become more culturally aware of how others prefer to be greeted. But it's also a trauma-informed practice, so that I'm not invading the space of someone who may be coming from something that makes them feel really unsafe, particularly if it was done in an environment with a person that shares one or more of my identities. So my obvious identities, skin color, and gender identity, and not so obvious identities would fall under there, although many of my students know what those are. So the students that I serve. So this is again an invitation for us to open our awareness and invite others into empowering their space for contact with each other. So thoughts or ideas on that, or other strategies that you've used that you found useful? One of the students was telling me that they have that they've done this, but they also put dancing after they watched a video. So they put dancing on their door. Yeah. Anything else that you're seeing as a possibility? Just let me know in the chat window, okay, or at any time. And this was another one that I found really powerful from David Trelevin. When I went to one of his trainings, he's done several, and this one that I went to, this particular practice really struck me. And in some of these you may hear and you might find out you're already doing these, but I didn't realize I have different chairs in the office, and when students come in for a one-on-one, they can sit wherever they want to, that makes them feel comfortable. But what David was talking about, but the chairs don't have wheels on them. My chair has a wheel on it, but their chairs don't have wheels on it. And so he was talking about the power of having chairs with wheels on them, so that even though I have multiple locations in my office where students can sit, and I also have TV trays, so if they want to pull a TV tray between them and me to feel safer, they can do that. But I would love to have chairs with wheels, because he was talking about they can even adjust, like sitting maybe this way, like, so not a full-on face-to-face, right, or a front-to-front, but they might want to just move a little bit in different ways, so they start to feel in whatever way they feel safe, so they can and empowered to again control their environment, or move it around if it's not quite in the spot that they'd like to be. And it could be even as something as simple as my office gets really cold. My office gets really cold, regardless of what season it is. And I have a space heater, and so sometimes the students sit closest to the space heater, and they move the TV tray out of the way so they can get even closer to the space heater. So it's things like this that can be, they're small, they're cheap, and easy to use. But again, the invitation is not setting up the environment in such a rigid way that our students feel sort of stuck in a space that may not be comfortable for them or empowering for them. And I know that how many of you are teaching in classrooms or working in out of classrooms where the space is really a limitation? It's, yeah, I see you, Martha. Yeah, it's like, I can't even do this in some of the classrooms. They're so tight. There's no space at all for students to move around. And then in this semester, that's been this semester, I don't know, I just guess I got the good luck of the draw, and I have fabulous spaces where we can really move around and even move outside more easily than I have been able to in the past.
So Becca, you're talking about you had a wheelchairs in your office, lots of different kinds. The kids I see miss the comfy couch and chairs. Ah, yeah, I hear that. Yeah, interesting. Okay. So I wonder if they make comfy chairs on wheels. I don't know. I don't know, Becca. I have no idea. You know if they do? I don't. I don't have my office isn't big enough for a couch. I guess maybe no. I would need to rearrange some things, but I hear that. Yeah. So really, it's great to notice what your students want, right, and be able to provide that if at all possible, or even like a love seat with wheels could be really handy. And of course, now we're talking about costs, but I don't know how our real talented maintenance team members might be able to do something creative. It might be worth checking out, Becca. I don't know. Let me know if you have an opportunity to check it out. Let me know what you think. Not seen one. To have the same feeling of being held. Oh, being held in the couch or chair. Yeah. I hear you. And maybe some pillows or maybe some comfy pillows, or you know how they have those there's one over there. I really want to go get it. I'm not in my office. Probably obviously the lights are dark, but there's a couch over there and there's one of those little pillows that wraps around so you can sit in the couch and feel like you're being held by the pillow. So I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah, bean bags. Yeah, I hear you. Bean bags are nice for some. Thank you, Becca. Thank you for sharing this. Yeah, lots of cool options if you have that opportunity. Feel free to keep the ideas coming. Okay, I love it. Thank you. Anything else out there in the chat room? All right. Martha, in the classroom, I try to find ways to let all people know that they don't have to sit if standing or lying down, not always inviting, given the floors is more comfortable. But I've only done this on an individual basis. I wonder what would happen if I just put it on the syllabus. Oh, cool. Yeah. Great idea. Just put it on the syllabus. Yeah. As a teacher, I get to sit on desks, stand, walk around. That is quite a privilege. I hear you. I hear you, Martha. Thank you. Yes. So I love that. I love that insight. Thank you for that idea. Just put it on the syllabus. See what happens. And in all this, we're exploring, yes, and we're inviting in the students' lived experience to give us feedback, or even in what way can I communicate to you that you have permission to take up space in this learning environment in ways that are most comfortable to you? In what way can I give you permission that you feel and you actually have the permission to take up space in the way that you would like to, knowing that that might differ from session to session, class to class? Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Love it. All right, keep them coming. Feel free. This is another exercise that David Treleaven, I always want to say David Treleaven, but I think it's David Treleaven. I don't know. I know I've heard, anybody know, I've heard his name, heard him say his name, heard other people say his name, and I still mess it up, but that guy. So this is another practice that I really enjoy, and this is a practice of, we've practiced it before, but as a reminder, this is an invitation, and I invite this on early on in the classroom and we can do this now if you would like to practice with me. So taking your dominant hand and making a fist. So making a fist with your dominant hand and holding that fist as tight as you can, and telling yourself that your survival is dependent on this fist just staying as tight as it can be. Your survival is dependent on the fist staying as tight as it can be. Okay, got it? Got that feeling? Now take your non-dominant hand, if you're able, and try to pull open your fist, remembering that that fist has to stay closed because your survival is dependent on it. What are you noticing? What are you noticing as you try to pry open the fist that needs to stay closed because your survival is dependent on it? What are you noticing? It's hard, isn't it? Yeah, it's painful. It doesn't budge, or it might budge a little bit, but it will respond closing back up. Yes? Now shake it out, shake out the hands. And when you're ready, the invitation is to make that fist again. Take that dominant hand, make that fist. Same image that you're inviting in. Your survival is dependent on this fist being able to be held as tight as it can be, held as tight as you can. And then with your non-dominant hand, just invite the fist to rest in the non-dominant hand. The non-dominant hand is now saying, it's okay in this classroom, in this out-of-class learning experience, in this one-on-one, you're welcome to take up your survival skills whenever you feel you need to. You're welcome to take them up. What are you noticing? Are you noticing a softening in the fist? Yeah, how many of you are noticing a softening? A little bit of softening, yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, a little bit of softening. And this is an activity that I invite the students into just as an illustration to say, I'm wearing white skin. I serve students who come from very different backgrounds than the one that I grew up in. And I have no idea what they have experienced, nor do I know what they need at any given time. What I do know is that we are all trying to move from here to here toward graduation, toward learning this material, or toward whatever it might be, right? And I have no business telling them when and when not to use their survival skills. If they know they're welcome, then what comes next is we can go into inquiry on what they're noticing as they take up a survival skill. And then I'm learning as well. How did we co-create someone in the classroom taking up a survival skill or not feeling like they can rest? Like what else is being missed here? So, and this is particularly important in our mindful compassion practices as we invite participants into SBNRR, for instance, and many of the practices that we'll be moving into as we talk about noticing what we're noticing as we experience success and noticing what we notice as we experience failure and how do we respond to that. And then being with some of the tougher emotions that we might be experiencing. Okay, so that's just an invitation and exercise that invites students into the awareness. Any questions or thoughts on that one? Or any other ways that you've utilized to invite in a welcoming of students using survival skills when they need to and not feeling like they're going to be judged for it or criticized for it? I think we may or may not have talked about in the video, I think we talked about the yes, please, no, thank you, resourcing, needing alternative cards. That I also use, which are handy. Another thing that we're playing with, and we're gathering data on this in another environment, an environment that I don't teach in, but this is an environment where we know students are experiencing a lot of trauma from crossing the border or just coming into the community to take classes. And we're using a few scales. So this is one, this requires some groundwork, right? So again, this is Paul Gilbert's work. We talked about it in our self-compassion component. And I'm just going to pause here for a second and read a comment. Thank you, Martha. Thank you for reminding me of this. I think I used the first dynamic with my graduate seminar yesterday, and I'm going to frame my apology for that with this exercise. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Martha. Yeah, thank you. We don't know, yeah? We don't know. So, and that colonized way of teaching is like, it has to be done like this, right? Learning has to be done like this. So that was, I hear you, Martha. I hear you. And I noticed when I forget, then and thank heavens the next moment is a new moment, new opportunity for a new choice. Yeah, thank you. So another one is if you are integrating mindful compassion practices into your course, and if you've introduced self-compassion practices and you base that with Paul Gilbert's work, which I highly recommend you bring in to mindful self-compassion teaching, or mindful compassion teaching if you haven't already, is talking about these different ways that we will naturally react to a trigger. And so if you're noticing something in the community, the campus, or even if something happened in the classroom, you might invite students to just take a moment and choose their color. And a graduate student that I had the privilege of teaching with me taught me just to use the colored index cards and make sure students have the colored index cards, have a red one, a green one, and a blue one, and you can really quickly get the read on students by choose your color. Like we just had a big, like we're talking real life, we're talking about real issues. Here's theory to practice, here's some examples, here's the case study, where are you? Right? Green cards up, blue cards, red cards. And the idea is then for me just to get for students to do their own check-in, and then give permission to practice the resourcing, the self-resourcing, the self-compassion that might be needed, or the sort of taking back up the survival skills that might be needed, whatever might be needed. But again, as a person wearing white skin, it's really important to make the implicit explicit. Make the implicit explicit. So stopping, giving permission to students to care for themselves, reminding them of the strategies that they already have and the ones that you've equipped them with if you are embedding mindful self-compassion practices or mindful compassion practices into your regular content. And so one of them might be just noticing, okay, we just had this big thing, let me do a check-in, choose your color. But again, this takes some groundwork. If you don't have a groundwork, you can use, one of my colleagues was telling me that they use a 1 through 10 numbering system, where 1 is I'm like totally cool and everything's fine, sort of in the green, and then 10 would be I'm totally dysregulated, and this moves into the more of the zones of proximity of optimal learning and development. So again, this takes some setting up, like I'm safe and comfortable. I'm being challenged here. I'm challenged. I might notice some emotion, heightened emotions, heightened arousal, but I'm regulating it. And now I'm starting to move into unsafe. And what we want to do is when students start to notice they're feeling unsafe in the learning zone for whatever reason, that they either can choose their color, if the index cards, or I don't have a set with me, oddly, but they could also hold up the yellow alternative or put it down. Like, so this happened in a class a little while ago. A student put down the yellow alternative card, and I was leading an exercise, and she put down something in the exercise triggered her. She put down the yellow card, and I could see that she was in the I feel unsafe zone, and she was working with her toolkit to regulate. And then I saw, and I'm leading the exercise, and then I saw that you could see her go, I'm out of strategies, right? I'm out of strategies. And so pausing the exercise, giving permission to people to take care of themselves in whatever way they need to. She chose to get up and leave we were actually outside, using the outside. So she chose to leave the area. And then one of the other students noticed she had her yellow card up, and they knew that I was guiding the exercise for the ones who were still in the yellow, in the number 2 zone. They wanted to stay with the exercise. So just eye contact, he's like, you know, should I get up and go? And I'm like, yeah, get up and go fine. Go see if she's okay. So that was an example where I might be able to monitor, but that was only 15. When you have 33 or more, it's really difficult. And so again, every now and then coming back to students and saying, listen, there's nothing wrong with you. Learning and development cannot happen when we move out of this. And so please, you have permission to utilize all of these strategies that have been successful for you up until now. And we've introduced several others. Feel free to use them. But also, we set up in our co-creation of the container, which we talked about in the video, is also a trauma-informed practice. We also said, if you see another person's yellow card and you see, and I'm also, and if a yellow card goes up, but I'm also facilitating an activity, please, one of you go out and please, one of you intervene. Like, this is a community. This is a learning and development community. I don't have to be the one who's intervening, right? And one of you may know way more than I do what's going on. Right? Does that make sense? Just checking in. So you can use the scale of 1 through 4. You can use the color cards. So there are lots of tools out there, and I introduce all of these so that students can choose which ones are most useful to them. Students can choose which ones are most useful to them. Thoughts, ideas, questions? Anything? Okay. So we mentioned that the books in the webinar that are really helpful to get some more ideas on. And then what I also really like are the compassion practices. So inviting in these self-compassion practices that we've been practicing, the validating what, particularly Kristen Neff's validating that I'm in pain and suffering, validating that something has moved into center stage, and is just demanding my attention, and it's really taking me away from my ability to concentrate in the in-class setting or the out-of-class setting. And just validating that you're not a loser, right? That there's nothing wrong with you. This is just naming, I'm suffering. This is suffering. I'm suffering. Validating that. You're not alone in this. Other people have experienced this. Maybe aren't experiencing right in this moment, but other people have had this experience, or somewhere around the world, someone has experienced this. You are not alone. And then offering yourself some soothing touch, some soothing words. It's going to be okay. Of course I feel this way. Who wouldn't feel this way? Connecting with the common humanity. Who wouldn't feel this way if they had just experienced what I had, or were triggered in the way that I was? Right? Who wouldn't experience this? Who wouldn't feel this way if they had experienced what I have? And then offering, what do I need? What do I need in this moment? And then if we've done our work in co-creating the environment and recommitting to co-creating the environment, then we know that when the student gives themselves permission to take care of what's front and stage, because they're not learning anyway, right? That when they are giving themselves permission to go take care of it, that there won't be a negative ramification for that. There won't be a negative ramification. That rather they'll come back to a supportive environment, and that it may be that we're getting them connected with some professional services. Okay, thoughts, questions, ideas, comments, concerns. One of the concerns I hear from time to time is that how do I know that students aren't taking advantage of this co-creation of the environment? And my response is, if the environment is co-created, then the other students will know, and they will assist in a course correction, if you will, a course correction. So they'll sort of mentor a course correction back. And I think the other, so that question only comes up if I think as a teacher, I'm the only one giving the permission. But this really is a mutual permission giving. If it's not mutual, then someone is going to feel like someone is taking advantage of somebody's kindness or compassion. But if it's mutual, that means there'll be some days where I need it, right? Or the other students need it. And if it's truly an environment that's designed as a co-creation of learning, trajectories self-correct. That trajectories self-correct within the community of learning. I'm probably not explaining that well, but I hope I am. And I don't mean peer pressure. I don't mean bullying. What I mean is those needing professional services get referred. It may not be by me. It may be by a peer, right? Those who might appear to be taking advantage of the system may need professional services. This environment may not be the right fit for them in this moment. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm making sense, but any other thoughts or questions or ideas with regard to this? Let's take a moment for the chat window to either light up or go down. All right. What I would love to hear from you, your additional ideas, and Becca in particular, and Martha, you both shared ideas that I would love to have your name on. If you wouldn't mind emailing them, I'm going to type my email in here. If you feel comfortable, you don't have to, but if you feel comfortable sending in your ideas with your name, we'd love to put it on the website on our trauma-informed practices so others can see how you're practicing, what you're doing, and what you're discovering from it. Could be really, I'm really interested in getting as many ideas out there as possible so that our students feel more and more empowered, as do our colleagues, as do we, to be with what's really, to be in the dialogue that we really need to be having, the discussion that we really need to be having in all of our in-class and out-of-classroom settings, and so that students again feel engaged and connected, and we're doing less harm than perhaps we have been in the past, with the full intention, of course, to do no harm. All right. Well, I don't see any other chats, but let me know if I can be of any further service to you, or please do send in those ideas to mbrescia@sdsu.edu. I'd love to post them, and please put your name on them if you'd like, so we can give you credit. All right. If not, thank you so much for your time. It's such an honor for me to be on this journey with you all. I'm very, very, very grateful. Oh, David Treleaven was in the Mindfulness Education Summit oh yes, he was in the Mindfulness Education Summit this week. Yeah, he was, yes, yeah. And he's done some trainings. I've been to different trainings in some different environments. Yes, thank you all. Appreciate it, Martha. All right, take good care. Have a good rest of your evening or day or wherever you may be in the world. Take good care.